Welcome back to the Football Fellowship podcast. There's no Premier League games this weekend because it's the international break, but don't worry, we've got you covered. Me and Toby are going to be going through our Premier League team of the season so far, but with an added twist. Stick around for that. We're also going to be going Tennable this week, and let's see if I can catch up Toby, who's leading by a point. And then we're also going to be previewing this game week's fixtures, and special mention to Liverpool and Manchester City in what could be a potential title clash. And also going to be talking about Everton's point deduction on this week's episode of the Football Fellowship podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again, everyone. That was Mevin with a little intro of what is to come in this episode. My name is Toby, and we're going to be breaking down as Mev said, our Premier League team of the season so far. But just to make it a little more interesting, and to stop myself putting all Arsenal players and Mev putting all Liverpool players, we are doing max of one player from each club. So we've picked our 11. We've also done a bench of, I suppose, teams that didn't make the starting 11. So every club has a player mentioned. But obviously that starting 11 can only have... I've gone for a 4-3-3. I assume you've done the same, but we didn't actually talk about that, did we?
No, I've also gone 4-3-3. I was assuming you would as well, because that's what most teams play nowadays. And I've tried to go for balance in my side. So I haven't put someone who plays in a different position just to fill a hole or get a team in. So I've played like a left back. I've played a right wing. I haven't moved anyone out of position just because, want to make sure this is the best team possible. I'm assuming you've done the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny when you sort of build these like team of the seasons, whether you're picking just the best players, or I know when some people do it, they try and build like the best like team as well. So like having like, if we got three midfielders, not just having three attacking midfielders who are scoring lots and assisting lots, but having like a defensive midfielder as well for a bit of balance. I don't know if my team would play amazing as an actual team, but I'm pretty happy with the players, I'd say.
I'm glad you've said that, because I absolutely agree. I'm looking at my team on paper and I'm like, I don't think it's a team that can like win the league, for example, but I think it's a team that can do a solid job. And if it's based on this season, this team technically should win the league, but I don't think it would.
We'll have to have a think once we've seen all the teams who we reckon would finish higher in the league. That would be interesting to see as well. But should we just jump straight into it with our goalkeepers? Who have you gone for between the sticks?
Yes, and it's funny you said that, I haven't just gone for all Liverpool players, but my first player in goal is a Liverpool player. I have gone for Alisson Becker in goal. For me, there was a few shouts, there was Sam Johnston, there was Vicario, there was a few goalkeepers who was in the chance, but I thought to myself, if this team isn't going to be great in some certain areas, maybe in the defence, who knows, I want a goalkeeper who's going to be able to bail me out of trouble and, who's arguably one of the best in the world, if not the best. So yes, I have gone for Alisson Becker because so far this season, 12 matches played for Liverpool. He's only conceded 10 goals, the joint least along with Arsenal in the league this season. Only 4 clean sheets, not 5, similar to Newcastle and Palace and Arsenal, who've kept 5 clean sheets, 1 less. But he does have the highest save ratio in the league this season, 78.7%. And for me, for someone who's renowned for his one-on-one shot stopping, someone who can come for crosses and he can also play out the back with his feet. For me, in the end, I wanted some other Liverpool players in it, but I thought to myself, if other areas of the team are going to be weak, then have the best in goal. So I have gone for Alisson Becker. Who have you gone for? Do you agree? Do you gone for someone else?
I would have to say, if I was building a classic Premier League team this season where you could have as many players in one club, I probably would be having Alisson in there. And as you said, it would be between Alisson and Vicario for me. But I have used those teams elsewhere, whether they're on the bench or the starting 11, you have to wait and see. But I've actually gone for Bernd Leno. I think he has had another fantastic start to the season after a really, really underrated year last year with Fulham. He was one of the highest keepers in the league last season for save percentage and post-shot expected goals plus minus. His plus was really, really high, and he's carried this on into this season as well. He's sitting 4th in the league for save percentage on 74%, second most saves in the league. He's currently in 4th place for post-shot expected goals plus with plus 2.6, which is decent. I think it was Vicario, Alisson, and I can't remember the third keeper who was above him. But a surprising stat, actually, for me from Leno, I know someone who we don't think of as being good with his feet or passing it out. We see him more as that classic shot stopper, and I think that's probably why Arsenal also moved him on, because we sort of tried to change our style of play with Ramsdale and Raya, those sorts of players. But he's actually completed the second most passes in the league this season with 446, which was really surprising to see. Potentially some weaknesses in his cross stop percentage is pretty low, and his out of penalty actions, something where Alisson obviously excels. Leno is quite low for that. But I just thought he's had another really good year. A lot of big performances, kept Fulham in a lot of games, and stuck him in goal. I think he's a good, reliable keeper.
Yeah, I don't argue with that at all. What I would say is you've put in a player in your starting 11 who's playing for a team who are 15th in the league, and obviously he himself is doing really well, and I agree. To be fair, Fulham struggling at the moment, haven't won a game in the last 4 games. That I do think that without Lennon, there would be even more trouble than they seem to maybe be at the moment. But it means that you've left a player out from the top 10 teams, and they're not going to be in your starting 11, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. No, I haven't. I haven't picked. Some of my players I haven't picked based on the team's performance. I've tried to pick it on player performance, and I think Leno, especially this season, we've seen that Fulham definitely would be conceding more goals without him. And last season, we were talking about expected points, expected goals against, expected goals for. They really overperformed, Leno being a big reason for that. But yeah, it does mean that there are some teams in the bottom half of the league who have some players who really stand out. So
Yeah, well, fair play, Bird Leonard. You got into Toby's team, not mine. But to be fair, I do like the inclusion of Leno. So you've obviously gone for a back four. Who have you gone for at right back?
for right back, I found this quite difficult position actually. I think right back and left back, it was probably the toughest positions I had. But there was one who stood out, and I think it was a difficult decision because there could have been a couple other players I could have picked from this club, but it's Kieran Trippier. Another player who, again, last season was amazing. Maybe the first couple games of this season wasn't as amazing as was, but I feel like the last 8 or 9 games he has really, really stepped up again. We're looking at stats compared not just for fullbacks, but for the entire league. He's got the most key passes. He's got the highest expected assists, the second highest expected assisted goals. He's got the 5th highest completed passes, second most touches. His stats, again, are just absolutely incredible. And he has been showing that and passing the eye test as well, still bombing down that right-hand side. And a lot of Newcastle's attacking plays still built on Trippier coming down that right side, playing Almiron on that right wing to come in on his left foot, and having Trippier still as that main attacking unit on that right side when they sort of build into a front 5. 6 assists, 49 shot creating actions, just another really good start to the season. His defensive actions potentially maybe a bit less than they were this season, a bit less compared to other fullbacks in the league, but I just think we had the same sort of with Trent a few years ago, where his creative output was just amazing. You can just ignore the defensive side because he's not in the team for that. Trippier, exactly the same for Newcastle, and exactly the same for my team this season so far. It's why I want him in there, just for those assists and those crosses, because again, he's carrying it on.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you said that right back was quite hard for you, because I thought this was really easy, and I also went Kieran Trippier because, like you said, I think for a player who plays in a team who've kept the joint most clean sheets in the league, and the fact that he's got 6 assists, second only to Pedro Neto, just goes to show for me that what an outstanding season he's had. And again, he's being relied upon. Some of that burden was meant to be taken away from him in a creative sense, with the likes of Tonali coming into the side, but obviously because of the betting going on, he's going to be banned for a while now. So unfortunately, they're going to have to rely on him again. And because then when you add on the fact that Newcastle have had so many injuries to players like Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton's having to play out of position on the left wing because they've got injuries up front as well. For me, the fact that Trippier is a player who's played almost every minute of the league so far this season, the only game he didn't play, he got subbed off early, was against Sheffield United when they were obviously smashing them by a few goals at that point. So for me, it was very easy. I think Kieran Trippier has been the outstanding right back in the league. I do think, though, that left back was really, really hard. And I was struggling when deciding who to put a left back, because there have been a few teams who've been doing all right, and there's been a few players who've done all right, and I didn't want to take a player away. I didn't want to put a player at left back from a team who was doing really well, and that meant that I couldn't put one of their players at a later stage. But I ended up, just the way my team worked. Okay, I'm making excuses here.
Who have you gone for in left back?
Destiny Udogie.
Nice.
So I haven't, that obviously means I haven't gone for a Heung-min Son. I haven't gone for, maybe most noticeably, a James Maddison. I just thought, for someone who is as young as he is, and the fact that it's his debut season in the Premier League, coming from Italy, from when he was playing at Udinese, playing a left wing back, to now going back to a back four, and the fact he's not overlapping as much as he would, and he's actually come inverting into midfield and having the successful season he's had so far. I just thought it had to be Udogie, and also because of a lack of options elsewhere. He's played 782 minutes so far this season, 10 starts. Obviously, he hasn't been starting recently because of his red card against Chelsea, which was obviously a bit of a blip, but apart from that, I think he's done really well. 2 assists, and I just think he's done an outstanding job so far. Who have you gone for, Toves? Make me feel better.
I have gone for probably similar reasons. Like you said, left back there wasn't many standout. Udogie, I think, has been fantastic. He has been really, really good. But I've actually gone for Luca Digne. I think he has had a really good comeback this season. I think last season he was replaced in the squad by Moreno, and I think the season before last he had a really good year. And this season he seems to have picked up from that season previous, 2 years ago now. He's the highest. He's got the most touches in the attacking third for any defender in the league. He's got the second most shot-creating actions for any defender in the league, and he's got the 4th most crosses in the league. And that, again, like Trippier, is just someone I think has just been told, don't worry about the defensive side. Get up high and get the ball in the box, because that's what you are good at, and that's why he's one of the best crossers and one of the best creative fullbacks in the league. The way sort of Villa have been setting up recently, Kamara almost dropping in to make it a back three, with Digne and Cash being really wide and high and just letting them do what they do best, and that's join the attack. He's got 2 assists so far this season, around 2.3 expected goals and expected assists and expected assisted goals, 23 key passes. I think he has just been, I wouldn't say he's been particularly outstanding. Like, I wouldn't say it's been an amazing fullback performance, but I think for a lot of players in the league, that hasn't been the case. But for me, I think he has been one of the best left backs in the league. And I know, again, it was the same as Trippier. I think was the reason it was difficult, these two players, was because I wanted potentially to use other players from the clubs. But with the left back slot not being too many standouts, Digne was one who I guess shone a little brighter than the rest, so threw him in. And I've got 2 very cross heavy fullbacks now, so which is good. I like it.
Yeah, got to have a consistent style of play, don't you?
I need if only Peter Crouch was still playing, I could have stuck him up top and we would have been sorted.
Well, who knows? I don't know who you have up front. I can probably guess who it is, but you haven't said it yet, so. But yeah, to be fair, when I was doing my research, I thought Digne would definitely win. I think you've been watching a lot of games this season, and I think Aston Villa and Luca Digne down the left-hand side have been really impressive. I'm surprised neither of us have gone for Tyreek Mitchell at Palace. We'll see the rest of the teams, but I just thought that he's had a fantastic season so far. And he was definitely, it was those 3 actually for me for left back.
I was exactly the same. I think Mitchell's gone quite under the radar this season actually. Not many sort of talking about him, but he's had a really solid year. Really solid. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if he got a few more assists in the final third, then I think people would be talking about him and he would be having a shot for England. But I think because he's maybe perceived as a very defensive left back, and that's all he has to do at Crystal Palace. He's not tasked with going forward as much with the players in front of him. So maybe it's one where, his attacking output maybe has let him down a little bit in terms of this list. But if he had that as well, I think there's no doubt. Centre-backs, should we do this as a pair?
I think so.
Okay.
Actually, no. Let's do it separately because I feel like I don't want to cut the centre backs out. Like shining a bit of light on each centre back.
Okay, fine. Was there an obvious centre back for you? Because for me there wasn't one. It was more. I had to go and find out for me who were my centre backs. Did you have one that was like that? No, they're nailed on.
I would probably say both of mine were nailed on. I had an idea before I even did any research of my centre-back pairing. And to be honest, I think there were 3 names on my team sheet that I had to put in, and I sort of built the team around them. 2 of them we'll talk about later, but the first one was William Saliba for me.
Okay.
For me, he has been Arsenal's best player this season. He looks somehow even more composed and more confident in defence. I just can't believe that he's only 22 and he plays the way that he does. Once I did my research on him and looked at the stats, his stats are very average. His sort of defensive actions, I think sort of his only sort of standout stats are more his passes completed, second in the league, and his progressive yards carried are very decent. They're over 2,000 already so far this season. But I think a lot of this is just from watching Arsenal. The way we've defended so far this season, we've looked so much more assured. And the main reason of that is William Saliba. 5 clean sheets, best defence in the league with only 10 goals. And the way he just controls the space without even having to pressure the attacker or defend the opponent, his reading of the game is superb. And for me at the moment, he is one of the best centre-backs in the league. I think it has to be said at this point. He has just been superb and he keeps getting better, which is amazing for me as an Arsenal fan. I absolutely love him and I just hope he carries it on and keeps growing as a player.
Yeah, well, to be fair, let me also shine some light on William Saliba, who is one half of my centre-back partnership as well.
Nice.
I do agree that it did take me a bit of time to figure out who I thought those centre-backs were in the league, because they aren't necessarily talked about all the time. It's more the forward players. So when you looked at the numbers like you have done, I think I completely agree that it had to be William Saliba. And I think just for me as well, the eye test, the fact that when he's on the ball especially, he looks so assured. I mean, he's got a 94% pass accuracy this season. He's had no errors leading to goal. The one blemish was he obviously conceded a foul in the penalty box, which led to a penalty which was scored. But apart from that, I think he's been faultless so far this season. I do think he is, the second coming of Virgil van Dijk, who I've already written down in my notes as your other centre back. The way you were talking, am I right?
You're not correct. No.
Is it not Van Dijk?
No, I do like that comparison between Saliba and Van Dijk, and I think I do agree with that in terms of the way that he plays. I think watching them together, I don't know what it is, but it's like they're like the way they just compose themselves off the ball. I think a lot of it is. I don't think it's Saliba's hit the heights anywhere near how Van Dijk was at his peak, but I think that's a really good comparison actually. But my other centre back is actually Anderson from Crystal Palace.
He's mine as well.
He is. We got the same.
Mine.
I feel like I had to get a Crystal Palace defender in there because they have been really, really solid in games this season. Joint most clean sheets in the league. And Anderson, I think, has been the defender who's stepped up the most in that Crystal Palace backline and really led it this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. When I was doing my team, I knew that I had to have a Crystal Palace defender in there. It couldn't necessarily be any of the midfielders or forward players because of the way they've been playing this season. But I thought that the defence had been so resolute. And when I thought about it, I thought I could go Sam Johnston in goal. But then when I looked at it, that the goals he's prevented minus 3.37, which in comparison to Alisson is 1.59, which I thought was really surprising and something I just felt like when I saw that set, I couldn't put him in, and then I wanted Van Dijk, and then I thought, well, I looked at Anderson's stats, and I thought he was been fantastic so far this season. 6.1 clearances per game, 4.5 ball recoveries per game, 1.4 tackles, and 1.1 interceptions per game he averages, and the fact that he's also got 2 goals and 1 assist, been an absolute colossus, and really surprising that at 27 years old, that no offense to Crystal Palace, but not a bigger team haven't come along to pick him up. Because not only that, but I think on the ball, he's also really exceptional. His switches out wide, left or right, are really impressive. And the fact that when he's pressured on the ball, that he's very calm and composed. And for me, it's not like, I don't think he's maybe as good as a Saliba or Van Dijk, Ruben Diaz, but I think in a partnership alongside one of them, he would be absolutely immense. So for me, it was, it ended up being quite easy in the end, once you looked at the stats, Anderson and Saliba. But I'm also very surprised that we've both gone for that.
Yeah, I wasn't. I feel like Anderson sort of stuck out a lot for me for fantasy football this year because I think he's one of the highest scoring defenders. Maybe that's why he was sort of like in the back of my mind when I was going to pick him. But that is interesting that we got the exact same centre back partnership. And just a little bit more on Anderson. It's like you've said, he's really good on the ball, but I think he's got that combination of playing for Palace that he also has. I suppose. Don't really know a nice way to say it's a bit of a no-nonsense defender at times. He's got the second most clearances in the league, so he's not afraid to, against a bigger team, if Crystal Palace are sitting a lot deeper, to just get it out and get it out strong, because he's a really strong, tall defender as well, really good at aerial duels, like you said. And yes, that's our defence done of Anderson and Saliba. For both of us.
It's very interesting, yeah.
So your midfield three now. I feel like this, as the further up the team, I think the more different we're going to get. Obviously, we've still got different teams to use and such. Do you want to start with one of your midfielders?
Yeah, I'm trying to piece together in my mind what your team's going to be, and I'm like, I think I can see where you're going, and I think your midfield will definitely be better than mine. I've gone more workman-like in my midfield, but that'll come later. The defensive midfielder holding the three in front of the back four, I've gone for Douglas Luiz. Now, I know you can maybe argue that if for Aston Villa, Boubacar Kamara kind of does that job a bit more and Douglas Luiz goes forward a little bit, and I do agree, but I do think that Douglas Luiz could also do the defensive midfielder role as well. So he's more of a, what is it? Ball playing number 6 for me, I have to say. 5 goals and 1 assist so far this season. Obviously, it has to be mentioned that 3 of those have been penalties, but not only that, I think he's been exceptional this season both going forward and defensively. When going forward, he has a 25% goal conversion rate when he shoots, and he's got an 88% pass accuracy. But I think defensively so far as well, he's been so underrated. When you've got the likes of Leon Bailey, Moussa Diaby, John McGinn going forward, that I think that defensively Aston Villa have done all right, especially at home. And I think Douglas Luiz has been a player at home who's really excelled. And for me, it just every week I come away watching Aston Villa and I think about Douglas Luiz's performance. He's always involved in some way or other, defensively or offensively. And for me, I think he's been so underrated. I mean, there was a couple of seasons ago that Arsenal were being linked with signing him in the summer. And I think now he's going to cost, maybe upwards of 70, 80 million because of the way he's playing so far. And for me, he has to be a shoo-in my team. He's actually the one player for Aston Villa that I was like, I can't negotiate and I have to have him out of all the other players. So he's holding my midfield.
Nice, yeah. I think he feels like he's come along a lot this year as well. He's been playing really well for the last couple of years, but I feel this season particularly, with the way Villa have been playing, he does seem at times sort of like that main man in midfield. And we are still linked with him at Arsenal, and like you said, he's going to cost about double what we could have got him for, but if we could sign him, I'd love that because he has been brilliant this season.
Who have you got for holding?
I don't really have a holding, so I think I'm going to have to play this player there. I suppose if it's probably actually more of a 4-2-3-1. I suppose my team. I'd probably have a double pivot, but even then that doesn't really work with the way one of them has been playing so far this season. But we'll go for a 6, and we'll go for James Ward-Prowse in this position for me. I think he has fit into the West Ham team seamlessly. I think he's been a perfect signing for them. They are really good at free kicks and corners already without his delivery, with their height and their strength, and he has just come in and been an absolute perfect fit. 42 shot creating actions, 6 goal creating actions, 5 of which have been actual assists, 3rd in the league for assists, 2 goals himself, and I just think he has looked slightly different to how he's been playing compared to Southampton. I think he has a lot more freedom in this West Ham side at times. With Souček, I suppose it's normally Souček, Ward-Prowse and Alvarez recently. Alvarez is always the one who seems to be sitting, and Ward-Prowse and Souček can have quite a bit of interchange between them. And it's definitely something I've noticed in Ward-Prowse's play, whether that's because I didn't really watch much of Southampton and I've watched a bit more of West Ham. But he seems a lot more mobile this season. He seems like he is really controlling that sort of middle third for West Ham and then getting into that attacking third when needed as well, and just whipping the ball in. It's the same as Digne. He's clearly just, that is his best attribute. He's 5th in the league for crosses, lots of shot creating actions, and yeah, he's been my midfielder, and for me probably alongside Jared Bowen, who I couldn't get into this team, obviously, have been West Ham's best players so far this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think James Ward-Prowse has been absolutely exceptional. I'm not happy that they're playing him as your I don't know, double pivot, most defensive player.
That's what I was saying. I say my midfield does not work as a working midfield.
Right. So I mean,
they are just all midfielders.
I think my midfield. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue Douglas Luiz kind of plays a box-to-box role at the moment.
But he's definitely more of a conventional, I suppose.
He's more, yeah, he's definitely more of a conventional. But I will, let you know that James Ward-Prowse is in my field. He is, nice. Slightly further up in one of the eights, alongside Douglas Luiz behind him in my team. For me, I completely agree. I think it was, thinking back about it now in the summer, it was an absolute no-brainer for West Ham to go for James Ward-Prowse. And obviously, I'll let you off for not watching much of Southampton last season. We didn't have a podcast last season, so there's no real need to do it. But I think, looking back on it with hindsight, what a fantastic signing, and one that was so obvious. The fact that he's got 2 goals, 5 assists. The only game he missed so far this season was West Ham's very first game of the season, because obviously he wasn't signed in time to play. But he's played every one game since then. 962 minutes so far this season. And a linchpin, and West Ham are playing differently as a result of James Ward-Prowse coming into the team. But obviously, when you lose Declan Rice, who's a £100 million player, no questions asked that you're going to have to play differently, and they have done. And James Ward-Prowse adapted to West Ham, and West Ham have really adapted well to James Ward-Prowse, and it's it's a signing that has been an absolute hit. And for me, obviously, it has to be in my team. That does mean I can't have Jared Bowen, but I have also used my Liverpool slot, so it'll be interesting to see who I have out on the right wing.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think, and I'm not sure. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
I can't believe he's made my team either, to be fair. Okay, so you've gone for James Ward-Prowse. I have just revealed that I've gone for James Ward-Prowse as well as my second midfielder. Who's your second midfielder?
I will go for... Do you want the obvious one, or do you want the slightly surprising one?
So if you're playing a 4-2-3-1...
It's not really. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. It's a 4-3-3, and James Ward-Prowse is going to be a terrible 6, I've decided.
Okay, give me one of your 8s, whichever one you fancy.
Let's go for the obvious one and get him out of the way. James Maddison.
Yeah.
He had to be in this team. I was indecisive about whether having Udogie, Vicario or Maddison, but once I looked at the stats for midfielders, Maddison has just absolutely dominated. Just for the whole league, these are top for shot creating actions, top for goal creating actions, third for assists, third for key passes, second for passes into the penalty area, second for progressive passes, 7th for expected assists, and 7th for shots on target per 90. He has been amazing this season. It was probably a player at the start of the season I predicted that maybe it would take him time, and we've seen him at Leicester be, I don't want to say a purple patch player and do any discredit to him, but he has been a player who goes on a really good run of 10 games and then is maybe quiet for the next 4 or 5, and has done that for the last few seasons. But he has just hit the ground absolutely running and proved me completely wrong. He has been amazing in almost every game for Spurs so far this season, has been their main man, has dominated the way that they are attacking. All the players are already looking to him as being the main man, which I think is amazing for a player of his age and a player so new to the team. Really, really led the line, and the only reason I could see Spurs not getting the top 4 or something like that, or not being in a title race, is because of the injuries they've had, and mainly the injury to James Maddison, because he has been amazing. And it's a shame because I've got him in my Premier League team this season now. There's a chance that he might not even make it come the end of the season if his injury carries on. Obviously, it's going to be into the new year at least, which is such a shame because he has been amazing and possibly even one of the players of the season, not just for me in the team of the season.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting you say the fact that, at Leicester, perhaps it could be perceived that he was a purple patch player, and he said he was someone who, played for 10 games and wouldn't. And it's kind of repeated itself a little bit at Tottenham. I think people, I would say definitely myself as well included, got a little bit carried away with Spurs at the beginning of the season, and the fact that, could they keep this up, knowing Maddison's injury record? Because forget the end of the season, even just come the new year when Premier League teams have played 18 games, could you actually put him in the team of the season then? If he's played only 12 out of 18, maybe. It's probably still maybe arguably make the bench, but it would be tough to put him in.
Yeah.
But at this moment in time, I completely agree. He has to be in. Obviously, I haven't put him in. I've been saying
He
But I
doesn't
just feel like
literally have to be in, but he has to be in.
he has to be in. Yes. Yeah. I'm not liking my midfield.
Who is your? So you've got obviously Ward-Prowse. Who's your midfield again? Ward-Prowse, Douglas Luiz, and who is the third man to complete your midfield?
And alongside them, to complete my perceived workman-like midfield, but actually a very underrated midfield, is Brighton's Pascal Gross. Because I was struggling with Brighton if a Brighton player should actually be in my first 11 or not, because they won 5 out of the first 6 games of the season. Then in the last 6, they've actually gone winless. So it's one where, do you include any Brighton players at all, or do you try and shoehorn in one? And when I thought about it, I couldn't go with a defender because of the fact that they've conceded 21 goals this season, so it can't be any of the defenders, and also most of them are injured. And when you think about the attackers, this is all competition, not the Premier League, it has to be said, but they've got 7 scorers, goal scorers, who score between 6 and 3 goals, so it's been spread around through the entirety of the front line. Then I thought, if a Brighton player is going to go in my team at all, which, I mean, obviously, if not in the starting 11, they've got to be at least on the bench, then it's got to be the midfielders. And then just compared to the other midfielders I had to offer, I thought to myself that Pascal Gross was most likely to be able to go into a Manchester City, a Liverpool, and Arsenal and just fit in seamlessly. So that's why I went for him. But I also think that in the first 6 games of the season, when Brighton did win 5 of the first 6, I thought that he was incredible. And when you just look at his stats this season, he's got the 8th most touches in the league with 989, and he's also completed the 10th most passes in the league, 819. He is the highest of any player who is not a defender, because obviously defenders get the ball from the goalkeepers, or they're often not pressed as much as midfielders are. So the fact that he's often playing sometimes as a 6, but mainly as an 8 for Brighton, or even a 10, and he's got the 10th most passes in the league, I just thought was really exceptional. The next closest player who wasn't a defender is Yves Bissouma in 13th, and my other midfielder, Douglas Luiz, who is in 16th place. But I think 2 goals, 1 assist. He's been one of Brighton's most important players, and they had a spell where he wasn't playing for 2 games, and you saw De Zerbi play the likes of Mohamed Dahoud, Billy Gilmore, and James Milner even played in midfield, and it wasn't quite working out. And Brighton are just a much better team with Pascal Gross in the side. And I thought, with someone who, at 32 years of age, now in the German national team, finally getting his flowers, I thought to myself that I just didn't want to not play Pascal Gross. If that makes any sense. But for me, it's a workman-like midfield, bit underappreciated if anything. But for me, I just thought Pascal Gross doesn't really rack up the assist and goal numbers going forward, or the defensive numbers. But I just think for any team is better with a Pascal Gross in it.
I think that is a really, really good pick. I think there's been 2 players I think have been sort of the main guys in Brighton's sort of rise up, which is Pascal Gross and Lewis Dunk. And Pascal
Absolutely.
Gross is probably the most versatile midfielder in the league. He's played right back a lot this season. He can play on either side, left or right. He can play in the middle. He can play as a 6. He can play as an 8. He can play as a 10. He's that good. And like you say, he just adapts and gets on with it. And no matter where he's playing for Brighton, people are still looking for him. He's still one of those focal players. And like you've said, severely underrated. Only just got into the German national team recently. And I really, really like Pascal Gross. But I have picked him.
Oh.
But not for my starting 11, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
I had the same dilemma with Brighton players that, like you said, I think if we had made this after 5 or 6 game weeks, Mitoma or Estupinian would have been lock-ins for my team. I'm not sure which one, probably Estupinian, but since his injury, he had an amazing start, injured since. Mitoma, I think in the last sort of 5 or 6 games, hasn't had as much of an impactful output as we saw at the start of the season. And then, it was Pascal Gross was that sort of third player I would have been looking at. But there was a midfielder I really wanted to get in here, and it is Abdoulaye Doucouré from Everton. I think
Nice.
another player for me who I think has been really, really versatile throughout the years and has seen himself almost playing just off the striker this season. I've put him in as a midfielder because I feel like he's sort of playing a hybrid role this season. He is dropping back into make a midfield five at times, whilst also still supporting the striker when needed. But I think he has been probably Everton's best player so far this season. And now with the points deduction, Everton's luck seems to somehow have got worse. We've talked about how they should have been getting more points, should have been scoring more goals, and they should be comfortably mid-table. Now they're sitting on 4 points, but obviously we're going to be touching on that later. And the main reason why they are playing so well and picking up all, or should have been picking up all of these points, is for me down to Doucouré. 4 goals so far this season, 26 progressive carries, 33 progressive passes, and 61 progressive passes received, which are really, really decent numbers, not just for someone playing in midfield, but for someone even playing higher up the pitch. It's really, really good positive numbers to see, as well as 33 shot creating actions. His creative output maybe hasn't been great, but I don't think that's not what he is in the team for. He's in the team to support both the central midfielders and the striker, and he's done it really well. Looked so direct, and just somebody I wanted an Everton player in the team because I've really enjoyed watching them this season, even if that's just a selfish point because I wanted to put an Everton player in, but I did, and Doucouré for me was the main man.
It's interesting you put in a player from a team who are 19th in the league.
I know. And even before that, they were, 14th, 13th, maybe? I'm not exactly sure, but
yeah,
they were around that mark. But yeah, I think Everton should be probably 9th or 10th, to be honest, the way they've performed in most of their games this season, which has been a bit gutting watching a lot of them. But they've been really good fun to watch, and I think Deitch has done an amazing job, especially with Doucouré, who I've put in my team.
Yeah, I do like the Doucouré shout. He is one that crossed my mind, and he'd work really well in my workman-like midfield.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think about it now. So, in terms of going forward, you haven't used a Man City player. You haven't used a Liverpool player. There's no Chelsea. There's no Man United. Yeah, so I'm really interested to see who you've gone for. I can probably guess a striker and the right winger. So let's go with...
I was going to say, I think I can guess your striker right winger as well, because your right winger I think is going to be a bit of a rogue one, but I've got a name in mind potentially, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, in that case, should we do left wing then first?
Yeah, sure. Who is your left winger?
So, honourable mention, I loved him so far this season, Hwang Hee-chan. He's played 771 minutes so far this season, 6 goals, 2 assists. He had a bit of a slow start to the season. Obviously, he wasn't picked in the first few games, but in the last 4, he's completed all 90 minutes, and the 2 games before that, he played 85 minutes in both. And I think that he's one player who's really come a long way this season, you know, for someone who I didn't necessarily think was going to be the answer to Wolves' attacking Wolves going forward this season, especially with the likes of Adama Traore not there anymore, Raul Jimenez leaving the club as well. But someone who has really, really impressed me, and someone who I was, up until 5 minutes before recording, was going to put into my side. But I've had to put in Raheem Sterling because I think he has been exceptional so far this season. And it's actually quite surprising in the fact that I think he's been so exceptional, because I think we've all known he's had it in him, but I think he has been Chelsea's most important player so far this season. I think 4 goals, 4 assists, none of them being penalties, and I just think his threat has been just, deadly to teams' defence this season. I think he's been there when needed, and he's also been, in more of a leadership role in the Chelsea side. He's really pulled them through. I think maybe you can make a case for Cole Palmer in the Chelsea side being really good this season, but I think his 4 goals have come from penalties, and therefore I can't put him forward. But I just think Raheem Sterling, whether it be on the left or the right, I'm putting him in my team on my left, and he's a player who I think I'd want him. And yeah, I am sad about Hwang Hee-chan, but I just thought has got to be Raheem Sterling on the left-hand side. There were a couple of other players who I was thinking about maybe putting there on the left-hand side, but I was really struggling, and for me, Sterling's one that shone out most. I'm interested to see who you put there, Tobes.
For my left wing, I have actually gone for someone who probably... Well, he plays either wing, but I have probably pushed him out of his more suited right wing, I would say, and put him onto the left, and that for me is Pedro Neto. I think he Hwang was another player. I was actually between the two for Wolves. They've both had really, really good campaigns so far. But once I sort of looked into the stats a little bit more, Pedro Neto's creative and dribbling output so far this season has been amazing. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to see much of that for a while now with his injury. Alongside Maddison, two players who I think have been fantastic and two of the most creative players so far this season. Again, they probably won't be in any team of the season we make at the end of the season potentially, which is a real shame because he's been fantastic. 23 successful take-ons in the league this season. 35 carries of those. 35 carries into the attacking third. 24 of those which have been into the penalty area, which puts him second in the league for carries into attacking areas. 7 assists, highest in the league, as well as 1 goal. He has, I think, just come back in the start of the season straight away looking really sharp, looking like a really good player. And I think that Wolves attacking unit has just all been really good so far this season. Hwang, Cunha and Neto have all worked so well. And it's such a shame that now Neto's injured, it's just going to be Cunha and Hwang. But then we saw in the Spurs game, Wolves can still do it. They're not just relying on Neto despite how amazing he has been this season. And yeah, I think he fits into this team pretty well. I think he's probably quite a different player, I suppose, to my right winger, but you can probably guess who that is with the team that I'm missing. But yeah, I really wanted Neto, and then he was one of the players I suppose was on my team sheet fairly early.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I've got Neto as well, but he's on my right-hand side. So
nice. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, because, I mean, prior to this season, he's always played better on the left-hand side, but I just think something about Gary Neal and the way he's got Hwang on the left, Cunha in the middle, and Neto on the right. For some reason, this season he just clicked, and he's played really well. Like you said, 1 goal, 7 assists in 10 games he's played this season out of the 12. For me, I just think of the fact that, again, a bit like Pascal Gross, I thought if he was playing for a bigger team, he'd have more goals, more assists, and therefore he would have had to be my team. Like I said, it's a shame he's injured. Maybe he'll be back at the international break relatively soon. It's a bit annoying. The games come thick and fast after this point in the season, so he might miss a few more. But yeah, I had Neto as my right wing, Raheem Sterling as my left. So obviously then, I'm guessing you've gone for Mo Salah on the right.
I had to. It was Mo Salah, as I said with Saliba. It was Mo Salah, Saliba, and the final player were the 3 players I had without even looking into anything. Just had to be in this team. 10 goals and 4 assists, and looking at 9.1 xG, 5.3 expected assisted goals, 26 key passes. Some of these stats aren't even like incredible. 86 touches in the attacking penalty area was very high for him. I think 3rd or 4th in the league so far this season. But I just feel like with Mo Salah, the stats are just sometimes irrelevant because he has looked to his best, I think, this season. 14 goal contributions in 12 games just can't be missed. Still, I think, ridiculously underrated. I think if he carries this on for this season and next season, he will probably be going down as one of the best right wingers ever in the Premier League. He is just superb, done it again, still the main man at Liverpool, still scoring so many goals, and he's brought a really slightly different creative output, I suppose, to his game this season. Obviously playing alongside a slightly different striker than he would be normally in Darwin Núñez, the one looking to play off the last man, as opposed to sort of the last couple of years looking at Firmino and Jota, the ones dropping in and feeding in Salah for him to score the hundreds of goals he's scored for Liverpool now. Whereas this season with Núñez sort of being on that last man, this means Salah's been a lot wider, pushed out. He's having to drive and dribble with the ball a little bit more. He's had to probably find Núñez and that sort of left winger making late runs a little bit more, but he's just adapted to it straight away so easily because he is such an incredible footballer. And yeah, he was, as I said, one of 3 names that just went straight on the team sheet.
Yeah, I agree. I think Salah's been absolutely fantastic this season, and I agree with you that I think Salah did almost have to be on this team, but I thought when I was trying to organise my team, the fact that from Liverpool you could arguably have a couple of the players. You could have Salah, you could have Virgil van Dijk, you could have Alisson, and for some other teams you didn't have that luxury of choice. So for me, I do agree. I mean, I wanted Salah in the team, but I just thought that, maybe I thought a bit too defensively in my team, put too much resources in there, but I just thought, Alisson had to be in it for me. But I don't begrudge you at all for Salah. And yeah, I guess we both have Haaland up front then.
I actually haven't gone for Haaland.
You haven't gone.
I've gone for Morris from Luton. No, I'm joking. Of course, I've gone for Haaland. It's the fact that I feel like this season he hasn't even been like talked about that much, and he has 16 goal contributions in 12 games. Yeah, he's in there. He was the one of the three straight in the team.
Yeah, for a second I thought maybe you'd gone for Alvarez, and I was like, oh, mate, you still got Man City.
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. Yeah, like you said, it had to be Haaland, isn't it? I mean, what can you say? I mean, the man doesn't really have too many touches or is involved in the game too much, but I just think, 13 goals, 3 assists. He's 3 clear of Mo Salah in second in terms of goals, and then he's then the next closest are Jarrod Bowen and Heung-min with 8, and those are 5 behind him, and that's just goals, and not to mention his 3 assists. So I think, he, despite the fact that people aren't talking about him, I think he's, it doesn't help the fact that when you have an outstanding season last season that people just expected this year. So it had to be Haaland up front. So do you want to run through your team for us, Toes, front to back? Back to front. Back to front.
So I've gone for Leno, Kieran Trippier, Anderson, Saliba, and Digne. Then a midfield of Ward-Prowse, Doucouré, and Maddison, with a front 3 of Mo Salah, Erling Haaland, and Pedro Neto.
Yes, there is no one holding anything in your midfield.
No, and my fullbacks are bombing forward, so it's just Saliba and Anderson, and just sitting back and covering the defence. The rest can all attack. That's fine.
Yeah, to be fair, I think your team has more in it to break my team down, but I think my team is just more clinging on for. Yeah, more solid, but also clinging on for a 1-0. All the set pieces with the James Ward-Prowse deliveries.
It's Guardiola versus Mourinho. This is old school. Clash. This will be.
Yeah. But still with the talent here and there with Mourinho. Yeah. So obviously I've gone for Alisson Becker in goal, Kieran Trippier right back, Joachim Anderson and William Saliba at centre back, with Destiny Udogie at left back. I've got with Douglas Luiz holding my midfield 3. Alongside him is James Ward-Prowse, Pascal Gross, and then a front 3 of Pedro Neto off the right, Raheem Sterling off the left, and the robot Erling Haaland up front. So you've got 9 teams left. Who have you put on your bench? Just to quickly
run through them fairly quickly. Little tiny shout out for every name. So in my goalkeeper on my bench is Fotheringham. He's had a good season. I think he's made a lot of sort of good saves. He's got decent numbers. It's probably potentially more so. I wasn't too sure of what other Sheffield United players to put in, but I think he has been one who has stood out and had a good season so far. Defence, I've gone for Harry Maguire from Man United. I think he's really stepped up this season.
I can't be having that.
I think he has. I think the way he was talked about the last couple of years, the sort of the hate I suppose he's been getting, I think he has actually been, especially in the last 5 or 6 games, he has been performing really well. And Man United now sitting on 4 clean sheets so far this season. They've got a good defensive record. And I think with Man United, the problem is their goal scoring. And I think Maguire has actually been good so far this season. And for me, it's difficult to pick for United, but I think Maguire has actually been one of the best players so far this season.
The reason why I disagree is the fact that he hasn't played enough minutes in the 12 games so far to be valid for team of the season so far. That being said, I've gone for Onana instead for Man United, and he's also my goalkeeper, because of the fact that we've always had a bit of a go at Man United, but I think, and Onana especially as fans, but I think the fact that we're looking through it, he's actually got the 3rd highest save percentage in the league, 76.7. That is only 2.2. That's exactly 2 behind Alisson, which really, really surprised me. And the fact that he's had 12 more shots on his goal than Alisson. I thought, I do agree that if you're going to pick a Man United player, it has to be the defence. But for me, I went with Onana, and because the rest of the United defence, they haven't got the minutes so far this season. So that's not Harry Maguire specific, but he hasn't played the minutes so far this season for me.
Yeah, it was difficult with United because it was the same as Onana. He was potentially a pick for me, but it was those first sort of 4 or 5 games where he didn't look confident, he didn't look comfortable, and he has had a few mistakes this season. I thought it'd be really difficult to put him in. And it was a difficult pick for United because their back line has changed. They've had 8-9 players in their back 4 this season. So just picking Maguire because he was the standout one.
That's fair, yeah.
The other defenders I've gone for were Murillo from Nottingham Forest. Again, maybe not played all of their games so far this season, but I think he's looked good every single time that he's played so far this season. Somebody I'm really trying to keep an eye on because I think he's still so young. They've got him for such a good deal. I think he's someone to keep an eye on who could carry on playing well and potentially one day go into a big club. And then my final defender was Doty from Luton. Played on that sort of left wing back so far this season, being one of their best players, one of the most creative, and one of the most creative fullbacks in the league as well. Really good for me. Who were your defenders on your bench?
Yeah, so obviously in goal I had Andre Onana. I did also have Doty as my left back / left wing back cover. I do think that if Luton do end up going down this season, I think he's going to get picked up because I think he's been exceptional. My centre back cover is Tim Ream from Fulham because I think the fact that he is 100 years old, and the fact that he is still able to put a performance week in week out for Fulham, and still be the standout centre back in that side in a team who, like I said, haven't won a game in the last 4. I think he still looks impressive. So for me, it had to be him. And my right back cover is a bit of a shoe-in. I've gone for Ola Aina from Nottingham Forest. He does obviously predominantly play on the left, but I think his preferred foot is his right, so he could quite easily cover the right back position for me. I think he's been exceptional when he's been played so far this season. I didn't expect him to be keeping Sergio Aurier out of the side for what a performance he put in towards the back end of last season, but he has done, and I think he's been fantastic. So yeah, they're my the defenders who are covering my first team on the bench. My midfield, I've gone Abdoulaye Doucouré in the midfield on the bench for Everton. He didn't quite make my first team for me, but I do agree he's been exceptional so far this season. And the fact that I also think that he can play behind a striker, but he can also do a job as a box-to-box or as a number 6 if you need him to do so. But I think he's that versatile. And then I was struggling a bit with Burnley and Sheffield United, but I think their standout performers have been in midfield, and I've gone for Josh Brownhill and I've gone for Gustavo Hamer in midfield just because I need to pick a player from their sides, and I've decided that's going to be them.
Nice. Yeah, I was close with Hamer and also with Brownhill, actually. Both of those had good seasons so far. For my midfield, I have gone for Pascal Gross, as I mentioned before. I was very close to going Billy Gilmore, to be honest, because I don't think he has been as good as Gross at times so far this season, but I think the way he has stepped up, I think he's almost been one of those forgotten players, and he hasn't had a lot of minutes at Brighton. He hasn't had a lot of minutes in football in the last couple of years, and I think he's really stepped up this season. Just wanted to give him a little shout out. My other two midfielders are Billing from Bournemouth. Again, has had a really good season. He's played a number of different roles and done so really well. Maybe not as good as he was last season, but I think that's probably just Bournemouth as a whole. I don't think yet have been as good as they were last season. And my other midfielder is Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. He, again, I think it's just another player who has really stepped up this season. Someone we weren't sure if he was going to be playing. We're not sure where he would play if he does, but I think when he has played, he has been fantastic and has been probably their best midfielder, I would say, this season. And especially, I think we've seen in the last couple of games how well he's played. Hopefully he can carry that on and keep his position because he's done really well for Chelsea.
Yeah, I completely agree with those shots. I think they were also consideration for me. So I'm trying to figure out what two teams you have left for your forward option.
I have Brentford and Burnley left. Who do you have left?
So I have Brentford and Bournemouth. So you can probably guess my players. If you want to have a go. Yeah. And
I'm going to assume it's Dominic Solanke.
It is, yes.
Nice.
Spilling was a shout for me in midfield, but I couldn't go for him because I just thought Solanke, 6 goals, has to be given a shout. So what two teams do you have left?
Brentford and Burnley.
So you've gone for Brian Mbeumo.
Of course, yeah. He's had a really good season.
For Burnley, have you gone for Lyle Foster?
I have, yes. I put him in. I think he's probably been one of Burnley's best players. I think he's their top scorer and top assister. Decent performer, but there wasn't particularly too many from Burnley. They haven't played particularly well this season. But yeah, Mbeumo and Foster as my attacking options off the bench, which is probably the weakest part of my bench. Only 2 strikers, but yeah.
I think that was really good. I've enjoyed that. Two similar teams in some aspects, but different as well.
Yeah, it's good we didn't get exactly the same teams. It was a bit worrying when we both had Trippier, Anderson and Saliba at the start, but they came into their own as the team went on. And let us know who we missed. Was there one player you feel like had to be in our starting 11s? What starting 11 would you have with a max player of one from each club? Because it's been a nice twist of not just having sort of the same players in a team this season. It's meant a lot of more thought has gone into it, and also meant we can sort of throw in some rogue ones we just wanted to give a shout out to, which was nice as well. So
next time I will be getting Hwang into the side. I will. He's just got to continue this for the rest of the season, and he will be my team of the season at the end. I just love him. I just couldn't put Raheem Sterling on the bench and Hwang starting. I was just like, that wouldn't look good.
No, let's hope so.
Yeah. Right. Well, there you have it. So, should we move on then to Tennable?
Oh yes, even more fun. This is a fun-filled episode.
Yeah, more international breaks, please.
Yeah, we need it. So The scores on the doors, I'm currently leading by a point. I think it's 25 to 20. That's 25 to me, 24 to you. So it's very close going into this week's Tennable. Would you like to go first or second?
Oh, champions give me the choice. I would rather go first.
Okay, so you want your list first?
I will be guessing first, yes.
Lovely stuff. Okay, so same rules as always. 3 lives, and then that final 4th guess stops your timer, and that's it done. So, Mev, you have 5 minutes to name 10 players who have won the World Cup or European Championship Golden Boot. So, top scorer. Your time starts now.
If I get 3, it'll be a miracle.
No, I think you'll do well in this. You'll do well.
Okay.
There is because it's all World Cup, all Euros. There's some where there was joint. There's some where there was 5 or 6 shared it. So there's about 30-ish names on the list. Just looking at it. 30 to 40. Let's
Oh, hang on. You started the timer. What am I doing? Okay. So most recent World Cup. Oh God, was it Mbappe or was it Messi? Okay, hang on. 2020. Okay, so I know one. It was a meme. One of them was Harry Kane.
Harry Kane, that is correct. That is Tennable. 2018 World Cup.
2018 Kane. Surely I'm gonna go for the German Miroslav Klose.
That is Tennable in 2006 World Cup.
6. Okay. Most recent. It was either Mbappe or Messi. Fine. I'm going to say Lionel Messi.
Unfortunately, that is not Tennable. He is not on the list.
So then I'm going to go Mbappe.
And that is Tennable. 2022 World Cup. Very nice.
Okay, that's fine. I've got 3. Okay. I'm trying to think now. Who have we had over the years? Who's won the World Cup or the Euros? Okay, so 2020 we had the World Cup in Qatar. 2020 was the actual 2021. Who was top scorer in that? What tournament do I remember? We obviously had 2014. Oh God, this is not great.
2014 was the World Cup in Brazil. If that helps, sort of really bells.
Yeah, it's the one where Götze scored the winner at the end.
Correct.
What is my time, Mr. Toby?
You've got 2 minutes 35 seconds left.
And how many have I got? 3.
3.
Would Ronaldo have been there? Well, he did get all the way to the final that 1 year. It's not the worst shout in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo has 2 Euro Golden Boots in 2020 and in 2012. So that counts as 1.
Yeah, 4. That's fine. Okay. And this is ever.
This is ever, yeah. This is going all the way back to the 1930 World Cup. So
let's go for Diego Maradona.
Diego Maradona, just check, is unfortunately not Tennable. No.
So that's my second life. Next one I'm allowed.
That's a good guess, though, those sorts of players. There's quite a few of those sorts of players, I suppose, on here.
Can you tell me when I've 30 seconds left, please.
Sure.
I'm going to write some names. So I'm going to write Pele down. I don't know. Oh, who was it win? Do I know who was the goal scorer in England won the World Cup? No. Alright, this is not good. Maybe Henry, I don't know. Doubt it. Oh god, I need teams who have gone far. Spain. Oh, who was it the year? God, I don't know. Who was it the year Spain won the Euros in the World Cup?
I'll give you. There's 2 Spanish players in 2008 and 2012. 2 strikers.
Yeah, in my head I'm thinking Fernando Torres is one, and I'm thinking David Villa as well, but I don't know for certain, which is why
You've got 45 seconds left.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
I would go for those Spanish strikers.
I'm gonna go for Fernando Torres.
Yes, that is tenable.
And I'll go for David Villa.
And that is tenable as well.
And then I'm gonna check out Pele as well.
He is not tenable, which I feel like I might have written my list down wrong, because I am amazed by that looking at the list. I didn't notice that when I was doing it, but yeah, unfortunately not. You've got 1 life left and 13 seconds.
Gary Lineker.
Gary Lineker is tenable in 1986.
Alan Shearer.
Left. Alan Shearer is tenable in 96. 2 seconds left.
Michael Owen.
And Michael Owen is not tenable, unfortunately, is your final one, but the time is up anyway. So you pulled back some really nice points there at the end with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
God. Can you run through the recent ones for me?
Oh, there's I feel like there was a few, like James Rodriguez 2014.
Yes.
Thomas Muller in 2010. Nazario Ronaldo R9 2002. Who else have we got? Gerd Muller 1970. Eusebio in 1966. Who else have we got? Platini 84 euros. Van Basten 88 euros. Burkamp had one. Kluivert. Mario. This was in 2012. There was 6 players. It was Fernando Torres, Jagoev from Russia, Mario Gomez, Mandzukic, Balotelli, and then CR7, who you got. 2016 was Antoine Griezmann when France got to the final.
Yeah.
And 2020 was Pascal Schick, joint with CR7.
No, I wouldn't have got that. Yeah, okay.
So 8 was solid. You got some good names there.
I will take it.
I'm just going to double check Pele didn't win the World Cup Golden Boot.
Yeah, that's fair. Because when I'm trying to think of tournaments and iconic players, you think of like the biggest players, and I just you obviously have the image of him with the World Cup in his hand, and I just thought maybe so I thought why not.
Yeah, saying here he got the World Cup silver ball in 1958.
That's alright, I'll take that.
But yeah, that's surprising that. So yeah, 8 points, very nice.
Thank you very much. I will take that because I genuinely did think I was going to get 3 because my World Cup and Euros knowledge is horrible. So no more of those, please, Toby. Right.
You shouldn't have said that now. It's just all going to be World Cup.
I can do my homework now. It's fine. You ready for yours?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. It is Arsenal themed. I want you...
Oh, God.
Hang on, let me finish. I want you to name me 10 of the starting 11 in Arsene Wenger's last game in charge of Arsenal. I will tell you, it was the 13th of May 2018. It was a 1-0 win against Huddersfield away from home. And your time starts now.
So in 2018, these aren't going to be any names. I'm just trying to have a thing. I think it was probably Petr Cech in goal in 2018. Oh God, who else would have been there in 2018? I think Koscielny may have still been there then. Koscielny, Mustafi, I'm pretty sure was a Wenger signing, so there's a good chance he may have been there. I think Aaron Ramsey is probably going to be one as well. Theo Walcott would have still been there, and I could imagine Wenger playing him. just because of the amount of time he spent there. Probably Hector Bellerin as well, possibly. 2018 might have been too late for Monreal. Potentially Kolasinac. Let's put these as like next to each other. Strikers in 2018. Was Aubameyang there under Wenger? I'm pretty Lacazette definitely was, so he potentially was one. Right, let's start naming some of these. Let's go for Aaron Ramsey.
He is tenable. He is there.
Okay, nice. Let's go for Petr Cech because I'm quite confident with that one.
Petr Cech is not tenable.
He's not. No way.
The first life.
I don't know who that's going to be then. I suppose it could... No, it wouldn't be Fabianski and Szczesny weren't there then. Emi Martinez, potentially. But I'm not going to risk a goalie, I don't think. 2018. Okay, right. Let's go for Hector Bellerin.
He is tenable.
Okay, nice. And let's go for Walcott as well.
Theo Walcott is not tenable.
He's not there either. Damn.
No, he's not there.
So we got Bellerin and Rams. We got 2, and we've already lost 2 lives. Damn, this is gonna be tough. It's between Lacazette and Aubameyang. There's a chance both of them could have played. I'm pretty sure Wenger signed Lacazette. I just feel like Aubameyang. Was Aubameyang there against Huddersfield? Let's go for Lacazette.
He is tenable.
Thank God for that. Okay,
Half your time gone.
Okay. Who else could be in that midfield? Ramsey. It could have been even like Coquelin at this point. It's really difficult to think who... Was Sanchez there in 2018? Or again, is that too late? Had he already left for United by that point? God, it's difficult to think between Wenger and Emery. Who was there?
2 minutes.
Let's go. Who was I just going to go for? I just can't remember who I was going to say. Let's go for Sanchez, Alexis Sanchez.
He is not tenable.
Oh my God! It's alright. So I've literally got 1 life left.
Yeah, can't get this wrong. 1:30 left. You were playing a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Oh, Ozil.
Is that your guess?
Yes.
He is not tenable.
What?
I'm sorry, Toby. That is your time over.
I'm gonna go for I just want to try and think of who else would be there. So obviously Ramsey's there's no Walcott, so maybe Aubameyang was there.
Yeah, Aubameyang was on the left wing.
Was Mkhitaryan there or not yet?
Mkhitaryan was there in the middle.
I should have gone for them. Monreal?
Monreal was on the bench.
Was it Kolasinac?
It was Kolasinac.
Damn, yeah. I should have gone for one of those. Koscielny?
Koscielny is not in the squad at all.
He must have left by then, I think. Mustafi
is a right... Ward was one of the centre-backs. I don't know if he's right or left.
Who was in goal as well? Was it Leno? Was
No.
it 2? No. Martinez?
No.
Who was it?
David Ospina.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he was our backup.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Macy was on the bench.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Walcott. So who's left? Who am I missing? A centre-back and a couple midfielders.
You're missing a centre-back. He's only just recently left the club.
He only recently left the club.
He's English.
Oh, Holding.
Yeah.
Damn.
Rob Holding, Mustafi. Next to Ramsey was a player who left only this summer.
Left this summer? Xhaka?
Yeah.
Damn.
Granit Xhaka and Ramsey. You've got Mkhitaryan. And on the right, he is still playing the Premier League.
What nationality?
Nigerian.
Oh, is it Iwobi?
It is Iwobi on the right.
Damn. Who was right back as well? Because Bellerin obviously was.
Bellerin.
I got that wrong. Oh, I got that. Sorry.
You got Bellerin. Your three you got right were, like I said, Ramsey and Bellerin.
I should have gone for Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, Mustafi.
Was,
I had a few of them written down, but
yeah. Well, on the bench that game was had the bench was Macy, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Per Mertesacker, Monreal, Joe Willock, Danny Welbeck, and Eddie Nketiah.
damn. Nketiah was on the bench all the way back then as well. That's crazy.
Yeah,
He must have been so young.
Yeah.
That was a tough.
Well,
that was a tough one.
That was a tough one. But yeah, I thought it's one where it might be more of an iconic Arsenal lineup for an Arsenal fan. So, yeah.
There was a few in there. I should have got more than 3. I probably should have got 6. I reckon I should have got Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Mustafi, and the left back. Actually 7. I would have been happy with 6 or 7, but I need to step it up.
You need to step it up.
It's the two Arsenal ones I've struggled with.
I know. Maybe I'll go for more Arsenal then.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think that was too bad. To be fair, I think what saved you there was probably the fact that you mentioned most of them. So,
it was just deciding which ones to go for. Yeah, I was too confident in like Czech and stuff.
Yeah, Czech, Walcott, Sanchez, and Ozil. I'm pretty sure Czech was signed that summer under Emery.
Ah, fair enough.
I think that might have been, and I think Sanchez and Ozil had left. No, Ozil was there under Emery.
Ozil was still there. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, maybe
he was injured or something.
Yeah. Very weird. But
Zach puts you on 32 and myself on 28, so a 4-point gap for me to make up. And I'm going to get 10 again next week. I've got 10-5, 10-3, so I'm on for a 10 next week. So
depends how easy I'll make it for you. Now we've got the lead, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Very good stuff, and that should probably lead us into talking about some of the games coming up this game week 13, the Premier League. Obviously starts off with maybe the biggest game of the weekend is Manchester City at home versus Liverpool, first versus second in the league table. How do you see this one going? Are Liverpool in a title race? Are Manchester City going to be too good for them? What are your thoughts?
I think Liverpool at the moment will want to be. I think that's what their aspirations will be. I feel like any time before the new year is difficult to decide who is definitely going to be in that title race. But, I think Liverpool will definitely have their aspirations of being that. I think they'd be silly not to at this point in the season. They definitely can. They've been playing well enough to stay in the same position as they are. Come in a few months' time when we've played a few more games, so they definitely will be looking at that. And I think this is the first time we've had sort of in a while that this Liverpool City clash has felt like the Liverpool City clash that we know. Both teams are playing really well, and I think it's going to be really interesting because both teams are playing potentially slightly different. Maybe their expectations are slightly different this season. City, we've seen in that Chelsea game now, I thought was just throwing everything up in the air of how we might expect them to play and how potentially a team can go in and really sort of cause a load of chaos and potentially mess with the way they play. And Liverpool this season have looked really different to how we've seen them over the last couple of years. Different styles of play, a completely new midfield, less reliance on creative from their fullbacks and potentially a slightly less intense press as well, which is something that's been interesting to see this season. So going into this game, I honestly have no idea really what to think. I feel like both managers are going to change potentially slightly how they play for this game. So I feel like my expectations are... I'm not really sure what to think, to be honest. I think you'll probably have more of an idea of how Liverpool will be playing. But yeah, I feel like City, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at the moment. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's very early on in the season to be calling this a title decider. I think even after this game, you still got another 25 to go. So I think it's very early to say it's a title decider. I think it's definitely a match that maybe warrants the hype of maybe being... Let's find out if this Liverpool side are title contenders or not. I think that's maybe the more how this game is shaping up to be, because I think Manchester City obviously have proven again that they are going to be the team to beat this season. Obviously, currently top of the league, despite the fact that they have lost a couple of games, but we know historically they have lost a couple of games at the beginning of the season, but they will go on a fantastic run towards the end. There is no doubt about that. My hope from a Liverpool perspective is that we can give Man City a good game. I think a few times very recently, we've been thumped at the Etihad, like properly, utterly thumped, no hope in hell whatsoever, and Man City have been absolutely ruthless. I think The last time maybe we won at the Etihad was in the Champions League, when we won 2-1 with a Firmino winner. I think that was a while ago now, 2017, maybe 2018. I can't remember the last time we won there in the league. That is a bit of a worry. So if I was a betting man, probably say if Liverpool are going to get a result, it'll probably be a draw more than it would be a win. I think it'd be good to have Alexis McAllister back in the six after he served his 1 match suspension against Brentford for picking up 5 yellow cards so far. I think injuries will, like you said, play a massive part into it. If Curtis Jones is fit, I think he has to start. Beginning of the season, we were talking about what a fantastic player he's been so far for Liverpool this season. The way he sets the tempo for the press, the way that he's able to find space in the wide areas, which is something not many midfielders are willing to go out and do. But I also think seeing Dominic Szoboszlai, in his first proper real challenge against the Man City midfield will be really interesting. One matchup from a Liverpool perspective that does worry me is Trent Alexander-Arnold up against Jeremy Doku. If he has the game he did against Bournemouth, I think Liverpool are in for a very, very long day. I can see Doku just maybe being tasked with not even trying to defend and just kind of keep the width on the left-hand side, wait for the ball to come to you, and then when you get the ball to run at it, because I think he will beat Trent multiple times in the game, but I think it depends on how well the rest of the team defends and if they can mark the men or not to see if they can nullify Dogu rather than Trent being the one to nullify him. But we'll see what happens. What are your score predictions going into this game?
I feel like Jack always say I've said it. I just said it, but with the Chelsea game, I feel like my expectations of how maybe City are going to play has completely changed. I think that may have really worried Pep, and I think they're going to. It's going to be. I want it to be a really exciting end-to-end game, but I don't think it is. I think Pep is potentially going to be playing another midfielder alongside Rodri, and is really going to try and control the game. There's a chance, I think, if Liverpool defend really well and really counter, having sort of Salah and Núñez on the counter, we saw against Newcastle, the way they were able to come back, counter, and win that game. It's potential it could happen, but if I was being realistic, I could probably see it being 1-0 Man City or 1-0 Liverpool. So I think as a safe bet, it's probably going to be 1-0 City, but I would love to see Liverpool go there and just get a smash and grab. That would be brilliant, I think. But I think either way, even with that low scoring, I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's going to be a great game either way. Maybe a bit like the Manchester City Arsenal game, where it was very interesting from a tactical perspective, but maybe, like you said, not many goals. I will throw this curveball at you though. I don't think Darwin Núñez starts. I think Cody Gakpo will be starting up top, and then Núñez will be, we've been saying all season, but that chaos off the bench. I think Gakpo, with his intelligence and his understanding of the press and his positional play, will be the preferred striker alongside Salah, and I think it's going to be Diogo Jota over Luis Diaz because of his recent form. But I think Liverpool are going to, maybe try and flood the midfield early on with Gakpo dropping in, Trent inverting, and trying to get a control of that game in what is a weaker Man City side. And I think Núñez off the bench would be devastating in that, but only time will tell. We'll have to see.
That's a really good shout with Gakpo and, like you said, Trent going into midfield. I didn't even think of Gakpo because the way Núñez has been playing really well, but that's a great shout. I think you're right. I think he'd definitely play and be dropping in to try and suffocate Rodri even more.
Yeah, I think Rodri is the key one. I think Rodri, Bernardo Silva. I wouldn't be surprised if Pep also plays Kovacic. I don't know why.
I think he will.
I think just after what you were saying, I didn't even think about it until just then, about the fact that he lost control in that midfield against Chelsea, that something will maybe make him, over-correct what the team needs and maybe go for Kovacic, Silva and Rodri. That'd be a very defensive midfield from City and not one we're used to seeing too often, but I think it could be something like that. My score prediction, I'm going to go... My head says Man City will win this game, and it's too early for Liverpool, but my heart says this Liverpool side can hurt them, so I'll go for a 1-1.
Nice.
Yeah, hopefully that isn't bottling it.
I'd love a 1-1 because that's good for us. It's good for Arsenal. So
or a 4-4.
Yeah. Oh, if we have another game like that, hopefully. But yeah. If I'm just thinking now, if Pep plays Kovacic, so we probably imagine it's going to be Rodri, Akanji sort of stepping forward out of centre back. Obviously with Stones being injured, Walker and Gvardiol as the fullbacks. Would we see Alvarez potentially more pushed out to the right and Foden dropped with Kovacic sort of sitting centrally? Or will it be Foden and they want to keep Foden and Doku and still have Haaland as well?
I don't know. There's an option for Foden off the left because Foden just always seems to score against Liverpool. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But he just turns up against Liverpool. But I think it'd be silly for Pep not to put Doku up against Trent. So I think Foden's the most risk of not playing unless he maybe plays on the right hand side and you don't play Alvarez. But I think Pep just loves Alvarez.
Yeah.
I think Pep loves Alvarez. I think he'll play. I think he'll probably play off the right and try and go Costa Simicas, who I didn't even mention him. I think he's a player who Man City should be targeting, and I'd be worried if I was Liverpool.
Just have Doku keep swapping sides. It's wherever the ball goes.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, you got to maybe have Doku off the right and Foden off the left, and that way you got both bases covered because Foden always scores against Liverpool, and if you've got Doku against Simicas, that's Doku every day of the week. So maybe he'll do that actually. That and Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, and Rodri midfield. That could be good.
Yeah.
But then there's no Alvarez. I don't know. Pep's got so many options.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some crazy system he's going to be playing. So
yeah, he'll probably end up dropping, I don't know, Ruben Diaz and playing Haaland at centre back. I don't know.
It'll be Scott Carson playing alongside Rodri, I reckon.
Oh God, could you imagine? Yeah, man of the match performance. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we should probably move on then to the next game. Everton, which is the 4:30 kickoff on the Sunday, I think it is, against Manchester United at home. Obviously, the news surrounding Everton is the fact that they've got their 10-point deduction after a independent committee ruled that they had breached financial fair play rules regarding profit and sustainability. Before we get into the game, what do you make of the ruling? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's a bit harsh?
It's a difficult one because I know with the sustainability rules that at the end of the day, they are in place for the club and for the fans. I know we've seen with so many teams about the way the owners can come in, just basically suck money out of the club and leave the club dead and put all of the losses into the club and take anything good out. I think it's a different situation, but it's why Man United hate the Glazers so much. Not because there's not money being spent by the club, but because still the large majority of the club's money is going to the owners. And these sort of profit and sustainability rules are there to stop clubs losing money going into administration because the owners are taking the financial gains for themselves potentially. However, is a points deduction, a 10-point points deduction, the fairest way to punish these rules? Because it seems like rules that are in place for the integrity of a club that should be treated like a football team, like a club, not like a business. The club should be run by the fans. Is it just punishing the fans for the club breaking a rule meant to protect the fans? Because obviously it's going to be a problem for Everton. It's going to damage the way the club's being run if they get relegated, obviously losing these points. But I don't know. 10 does seem a lot. 10 does seem a lot, especially for... It didn't seem like... I think it was it 12 million over the losses that were over how much it should have been. It wasn't a lot. And 10 points in the situation that Everton are in could be a lot. And it's... I'm really torn. To be honest.
Yeah, I think... For me, I'm on the side of if you've broken the rules, then you should have a penalty of some sort. I don't think when you've broken profit and sustainability rules that a fine is necessarily the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It depends if you've been... I don't know. Everton have just overspent a little bit. They haven't pumped money into the club by other means, and it's been found to not be... true and right of what they've actually been reporting. I think a points deduction was right. I think 10 is a lot. I really do think 10 is a lot. But then I think about it, if there was a season in which you were going to be deducted 10 points, it would be this season. I mean, level on points with Burnley now. Burnley still are still below them on goal difference. That's how bad the season they've been having. But 1 behind Sheffield United, 2 behind Luton, I think 5 behind Bournemouth. I think this Everton side are good enough that they could take a 10-point deduction and still be fine this season.
Yeah.
If this was the Everton of last season, I would really, really worry. So I do just think though they'll be making an example out of, so everyone else can know, right, this is what you don't do and this is what you shouldn't be doing. Um, because if it was most other teams in the league, then you go, okay, it's just fine. But I think 10 points is a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's the first case in the Premier League, so someone has to have the first penalty. But yeah, I'm not sure 10 is right personally.
Yeah, I
Um,
was thinking maybe 6 and a transfer ban or something like that, like a January transfer ban and potentially maybe even next summer. Um, so that obviously they're not spending any more money at the moment, and I feel like that's probably a good thing for the club if they aren't making transfers. They're obviously saving money. But yeah, 10 does seem a lot. I think it might be as well because it's so early in the season, which is probably a good thing. This point deduction has come this early because it means they know what they've got to work on. They're not going to be at the end of the season thinking, "Oh, we're safe by 5 points." Oh no, now we're not safe by 5. Whereas I suppose at least it's early; they can build on it. But yeah, I think a points deduction is okay, but 10 points is a lot.
yeah, I agree. I don't know what that number would be if someone put
Mm.
a gun to my head, but 10 is not the right amount of points to be deducted. It's too high, I think. Um, but yeah, I think definitely the fans and everyone in the club, as a result of this, will definitely be galvanised. And obviously, if they appeal, then they could get it overturned and they could get the 10 points at the back. And then, they might find themselves, who knows where they'll be if they find themselves later on in the season knowing that they've had 10 point deduction and then getting the 10 points back. They could be really high up the table, who knows.
Yeah.
Um, but I think in terms of the game itself, I think it adds a different element to the game against Manchester United, a team, technically the form team in the league, surprisingly, 4 wins in the last 5 games. But I think Goodison Park is going to be a very hostile environment, and it's going to be one that the fans are going to make, what they think of the matter known. And the fact that it's on TV won't help that either. And I think Man United might be in for a bit of a storm, but they do better away from home, Man United, and Everton do struggle at home. So we'll see what happens, really, won't we?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether I feel like it can go one or two ways with the fans. It can either be they're really sort of, obviously, I don't know if they'll obviously be angry at the league, which then may sort of give them a stronger passion towards the players and sort of the staff and things like that. I could really see that if the players and the fans sort of, I suppose, unite against what they think is an unfair and unjust decision, as opposed to sort of being just angry and everyone being fed up and being angry, and they could see them dropping. Whereas I really think if they sort of band together and try and make it, I suppose, a positive thing in a way that they don't care they've had the points deducted, they just want to carry on playing, then we can still see Everton carrying on playing really well and definitely being safe. And this, I think, was a massive one. Everton United, having United go to Goodison is going to be a massive game, especially straight after this points deduction. United, I think, will probably want to go and keep hold of the ball, keep control of the game as much as they can, with Ten Hag wanting them to have a high possession, but I think it's going to be really difficult for them, and I think the players are going to be really G'd up for this game, are going to press a lot higher, are going to really want to win that ball back. And it will depend whether Ten Hag can sort of predict that and maybe be a little bit more reserved and a little bit more, not counter-attacking, but a bit quicker moving the ball up, or if he'll think, that doesn't matter, I want to carry on playing and we will keep the ball. It doesn't matter what the game is, that's our game plan. So it'll be interesting to see which route they go down and which route will be effective for them, because it's not going to be an easy game.
No, it absolutely won't be. And I think it was going to be a tough game anyway because of the way that Everton played. They're so good out of possession and on countering a team that I think that would be perfect for the way that Man United will want to keep a hold of the ball. If anything, I think maybe Man United will probably want to counter Everton and let Everton come onto them, but I don't think that'll be happening either. It'll be a very interesting game, and I think the centre backs, if Evans and Maguire do play, then I think that's kind of the perfect centre back partnership for this game. Because I think for looking at the forwards that Everton have, either it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin or if it's Beto, I think both of them will be perfectly suited to face either of those strikers. And I think if it was a Varane or a Lindelof, they might struggle a little bit more. And also the fact that the wingers who they do have, aren't the quickest. Dwight McNeil is very good and he can put an excellent cross in, and now they've got to look out for that. But I think they're not the quickest either, and so the fullback, whoever they may be, with it's Dallo and whoever else on the left hand side, if it's still Lindelof, they should know what they're up against and they could have the chance of having a good game. It's just for me that if Man United can get on the score sheet and how they go about doing it, Fernandes needs to turn up. Rasmus Højlund could really do with the goal, and I think could see him getting his first goal of the league this season in this game. Rashford, we'll see if he's in good form or not after coming out of the England internationals. We'll see, or even if he's actually fit or not after his collision with Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think it will be a really interesting game. Score prediction wise, I think it could. I think Everton might lose this one just to add more fuel to the fire of the Evertonians. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Man United win. What about you?
I think United's midfield is going to get overrun. I think Everton's midfield has probably been the best part of them so far this season. I think United don't really have any defensive cover in that, and I think it's going to leave them very open, and Everton are going to charge through that midfield. So I think Everton are going to win, and I'm going to go. I'm torn between 1-0 or 2-0. I think it's going to be 2-0, maybe a goal in the first half and then a really late goal just on a break as Man United are pressing. So I'm going to go 2-0 Everton, and I hope so because I think it would be an amazing atmosphere if they can get that. And I need to make sure I watch this game because I just want to see all the build-up around it. I feel like it's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I want to see what all of sort of the pundits are saying, and if they're able to interview people and see what people's opinions are, because we haven't really heard too much, obviously, with it being the international break and just sort of club statements and stuff. So, yeah, really excited to watch that. Two big games. Maybe Everton United without the points deduction, we probably wouldn't have been talking about it. But I think now it's put it up there alongside City Liverpool as games to definitely try and watch this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we leave, we're just going to do score predictions for the remaining fixtures in the week. So, 3 o'clock, Burnley, West Ham. I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham. Toby?
Nice. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
2-1 West Ham. Okay. Luton Town versus Crystal Palace is the second 3 o'clock fixture. Do you want to go first on this one?
Let's go 0-0. Luton to get a point.
I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1.
Nice.
At home. Newcastle versus Chelsea. Big game for 3 o'clock.
That's a big game, yeah.
I will say that Newcastle will bounce back and it'll be 2-1 Newcastle.
Nice. I'm going to go 1-1. I think points shared there. Newcastle, much weakened side. Chelsea, maybe with a bit more fire in them. Go up there and get a point.
Then Nottingham Forest versus Brighton.
This is a tough one because Forest played really well at home so far this season, and Brighton have struggled in recent weeks. But I think Brighton will go there and pull off a good result. I think they will win 3-1 Brighton.
I think there's going to be 2-2. I don't think either team can keep a clean sheet, but I think there will be goals.
Nice.
There will be goals.
Nice.
Right. Final 3 p.m. on the Saturday. Sheffield United versus Bournemouth. A big game between what is 18th versus now 16th.
16th, yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear. I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth.
I am also going to go 2-1 Bournemouth. That's the exact same score I had in my head.
Yeah, I think that Dominic Solanke up front. I think they'll have a bit too much for Sheffield United.
Yeah, he's in good form.
Your boys up next, 5:30 on the Saturday. Brentford at home against Arsenal. What do you think?
It's not going to be an easy game, I don't think. I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal.
1-0 to the Arsenal. I will go 2-0 to the Arsenal on that one.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we move on to Sunday. A big game in the top four, potentially. It's Tottenham Hotspurs versus Aston Villa, 2 o'clock. Let's go. Oh dear. Without Romero, Udogie will be back. John McGinn has picked up a little bit of a niggle. I don't know. I'm going 1-0 Aston Villa.
I'm also thinking Aston Villa win. I don't know whether to go crazy and go 3-2 Aston Villa or keep it safe with a 2-1. I think I'm going to go Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 1.
That's tough. Aston Villa away from home. Spurs. We'll see. We'll see. We've got your predictions for Everton, Man United already, and then on the Monday it is Fulham against Wolves, 8 o'clock Monday Night Football. What are you going to say?
Fulham Wolves. That's a tough one. Wolves playing really well this season, but every time I feel like I'd never predict them, or I would never predict them to sort of win, and I don't know why, because they are playing really well. Let's go for 1-1 though, as it is an away game.
1-1. After singing their praises, I feel like Wolves will win this one, and they're going to win it 2-1.
Hwang with both goals.
Hwang with both goals. Team of the season. Here he comes.
Up the Hwang.
Lovely. Up the Hwang. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Football Fellowship Podcast. Thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please give us 5 stars and answer the questionnaire. Let us know what you think. Anything to add, Toby?
No, just hopefully join us for next week, where we'll be back reviewing the Premier League action after all these games, and we can see how our predictions did actually. See if we know what we're talking about, or if we just talk nonsense.
Well, of course, we know what we're on about, Toby. The number 1 football podcast on YouTube and Spotify, according to me.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Well, see you next week. Take care.
Cheers.